horrific things that are happening in our world. And it looks like we're live now. So again, welcome everybody to Hunger and Homeless Awareness Week. Tonight is our first annual concert. We have been partnering on Hunger and Homeless Awareness Week for the last 19 years. We started Villanova University. Hopefully, people from Villanova will be joining us tonight. Since then, we've partnered with the National Campaign on Hunger and Homelessness, against hunger and homelessness. And we have been fighting to make sure that people in this country are aware of the extreme suffering that we're seeing across this nation. Even more so now, it's been exacerbated by the pandemic, this once in a lifetime pandemic. We've seen a lot of issues in our political discourse that are not as caring and sympathetic as we would hope the world is. Basically, we've been split down the middle. But tonight, what we want you to do is forget all of that. We want you to put aside 2020 for so many reasons and join us in a night of celebration where we celebrate the voices of those that have suffered through homelessness, those with lived experience, and we bring to you just some amazing talent. And that is not hyperbole. We're going to present to you some fantastic poets, fantastic musicians, some fantastic vocalists. And for right before, on the eve of the day we say thanks for all the things that we've been blessed with in our lives, we're going to enjoy just a good old time with some music, some poetry, some thumping on the bass, and some slinging on the guitar. I may throw in a couple of jokes from here to there, and it, hopefully that doesn't upset anybody. They're not good jokes, but we'll have a good time tonight. And before we get started with that, we also want to make a very important point that this is about not only helping to make you feel a little better in this time of challenge, but it's also to help support the magnificent work of the National Coalition for the Homeless. The National Coalition is the oldest advocacy group working on behalf of homelessness. If you stayed in a shelter or in a transitional housing program or even permanent supportive housing, NCH started that. We were responsible for starting the services for people that are homeless in this country. And I would give you a bunch of statistics, but this is a statistic-free night tonight. We're just going to have some fun. We're on Facebook Live. If you'd like to donate to the National Coalition for the Homeless, you can do it there, or you can go right to our website at www.nationalhomeless.org. I hope that you enjoy some amazing talent tonight. I hope that you get a time to take your mind off of all that's going on, turn away from MSNBC for a minute and listen to Homeless Awareness Virtual Concert. And with that, I'm going to introduce the leader of the National Coalition for the Homeless, my boss, our board president, Sue Watliff Phillips.
Thank you, Donald. And thank you to the National Coalition for the Homeless staff for your excellent work in coordinating this very special event and volunteers that helped with that too. And to all of you who are going to be sharing your wonderful talents with us tonight. And especially for all of you that are joining us through Facebook and on the internet tonight with us through Zoom. The Hunger and Homeless Awareness Week, as Donald said, we've been involved with for a number of years. And this year we're talking about sharing the table. And as a person of faith, sharing the table means thanking God for his blessings and thanking my parents who experienced homelessness after World War II, teaching me to share those blessings with people who have experienced homelessness or are in a housing crisis. It also means listening to folks, respecting and honoring their God-given power, and inviting them to be at every decision-making table. So the National Coalition for the Homeless works together with people experiencing homelessness and with all of you to make sure that we're addressing the immediate needs of people experiencing homelessness, as Donald just mentioned, and to go beyond that to address the systemic causes of homelessness. So we must dramatically change and improve our responses to homelessness to ensure every American has a safe, decent, accessible home, whether it's rental or home ownership or however they determine it to be home, that's affordable to them at their incomes. Congress must immediately enact the COVID-19 stimulus funding through the HEROES Act, which was passed by the House in May and a smaller version in August. So we encourage you, besides being with us tonight, is to join us in the national call-in day tomorrow to Congress to get this bill passed before the end of the session. The United States is now in our 5th decade of growing homelessness, the longest episode since the colonial days. Millions of Americans are homeless today, and at least 40 million are at risk of homelessness due to the eviction or foreclosure during the COVID-19 pandemic and economic downturn. Abraham Lincoln said, "Fellow citizens, we cannot escape history." So in a few moments, we're going to watch a video on the history of the growth of homelessness in our country called Housing Now 2020. As we watch that, I hope that you will think about all the incredible ways that you are involved in helping to end homelessness. As Robert Kennedy also said, few will have the greatness to bend history itself, but each of us can work to change a small portion of events. And in the total of all those acts will be written the history of this generation. So thank you for joining us. And now we'll see the video, Housing Now 2020. Megan, we cannot hear the sound.
So while we work on the video, what I'd like to do is we're going to go into our first performance of the night. And our first performer is no stranger to both the homeless movement and the beauty of, of artistic expression. And I could do a bio on her for about 2 hours, but I'm just going to do a brief one for you. Our first performer tonight is going to be Rajni Shankar Brown, Dr. Rajni Shankar Brown. She's an internationally known scholar in social justice and educational leadership. She is a founder and executive director of the Poverty and Homelessness Conference and a member of the executive board of directors of the National Coalition for the Homeless. She also serves as co-chair of the Equity and Social Justice for International Society for Information Technology and Teacher Education. She is the 2013-2014 recipient of the Stetson's Hand Award for Distinguished Faculty Achievement based on her engaged scholarship, equity-focused leadership, and community impact. Now, she's received a number of other very prestigious awards, and I will not do her entire bio, but I know that she received the McNerney Award, and she's also a Jesse Paul DuPont Endowed Chair of Social Justice. I think I got all that right, but without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to a person who's really going to embody our theme tonight. The theme for tonight is Share Your Table. And without further ado, Dr. Rajni Shankar Brown.
Thank you so much, Donald Whitehead. We are so lucky to have such a fabulous leader. So Donald Whitehead is the leader, our president our director for NCH, and Sue, who you heard earlier, Watlove Phillips, is our president of our board. And so we are just very, very fortunate to have such great leadership. And so I just wanted to start today by welcoming everyone to this wonderful event. And today is extra special because it actually coincides with the celebration of Diwali as well. And Diwali is the festival of lights. It is a time where we celebrate knowledge over ignorance. It is a time for us to turn inward and to shine our light into the world, shine compassion, and to work collectively for justice. And so I am so excited that our event, and this is our first annual virtual concert. We hope to, I think NCH hopes to make this kind of a yearly event. And so some of you listening in the future, you may want to come on board and participate and get involved in ways. I have the privilege of serving on the executive board of the National Coalition for the Homeless. This organization, as you heard, works very actively to end and prevent homelessness. And right now we have numbers of families and children in homeless situations all over the United States. So this work is really, really critical. I will just share really quickly as well. I have my parents watching tonight. They taught me very early on to share resources and to always use my voice for good. Had their own struggles throughout their life journey. And I'm just so blessed to be able to advocate in ways that they've taught me to do so. Also, the mother of two delightful children who are here tonight, Galen Siddhartha and my daughter, Ramila Sitara. They are civil rights activists of their own. And I also want to give a shout out to my niece, Talia, who is turning 11. Today is her birthday. So very excited we're doing this virtual concert for her as she can think. And then finally, I really want to thank all of my students. So I have a literacy class here who's joining us tonight for this virtual concert. And my amazing students, what a wonderful way to end our final class tonight, to actually talk and make connections to poverty and homelessness that we've talked about, and to celebrate literacy in all of its beautiful and expansive forms. So tonight I thought about reading you a poem called Poverty Pleads from my new collection of poetry, To Luminous, but instead I actually have written an original poem for this event that I would like to share. And I wrote this poem really to remind us to share our tables, to remind us of our shared humanity and the power of beloved community, which is what we are all here tonight for. And so the poem's titled Expanding Our Tables. Expanding our tables. Tonight we join in love and for justice. Diverse voices flowing, embracing through song and story. Across faiths, across cultures, together tonight. Tonight we remember. We remember so deeply. We remember inside of our bones, inside of our spirits. We remember those lives that were stolen from hunger and homelessness, stolen from greed and apathy. We remember, and we honor those lives. Tonight we expand our tables. We welcome each other with our palms wide open, our hearts wide open. We say, namaste, hello, welcome. Tonight we inhale, we exhale, and we do this together to find nourishment, to find fuel, and to keep on marching. We march, we march, we must march for humanity. Tonight we inhale and exhale, awaken our spirits, we roll up our sleeves, and we keep on working to build a better world for all. Tonight we inhale and exhale. We find fortitude and chant together, housing now, housing now, housing now. Tonight, we educate, we agitate, we elevate human life. Human life. Tonight, we join in love for justice, diverse voices flowing, embracing through story and song. We listen, we reflect. Tonight, we gather at our tables and we ask each other to set an extra place setting, to add an extra seat, to break bread with joy and to share. Tonight, we renew our commitment to care more. We renew our commitment to share more, to reimagine, to give our children a world that they are worthy of and that they deserve. Tonight, we expand our tables. We expand our tables. We expand our tables. We push and open and expand our tables. And we call on others to expand their tables too. Tonight, tables expand with radical love and intention, unapologetically denouncing hate, dismantling oppression. Tonight, we all come together to tirelessly sing, to overcome hunger and homelessness as acts of justice, as human rights that are persisting, growing individuals, families, children, suffering, dying, suffer, die, and children. And we ask why? 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 This is not okay. This is not the way. This is the call for a new day. Tonight and tomorrow and onwards, we join in love and for justice. NCH and all of us here who are advocates in spirit and soul, we must keep marching. We must listen and reflect to the diverse voices, the voices that flow, embrace each other. We provide each other with nutrition. We the people, are each other's kitchen. We can give each other shelter, figuratively and literally. Give each other shelter. And it starts by expanding our hearts and expanding our tables. So today, we ask all of you who are joining us to expand your table, to ask others to expand their table, and to remember to march forward in love, with love, in justice, for humanity. Namaste.
Ladies and gentlemen, a hand wave of applause for Dr. Rajni Shankar-Brown.
Thank you all.
Amazing, Rajni. We will go back. We want to remind everybody of a little bit of history. And we just want to take a moment so people can see the video that we wanted to play. So if we could cue up the video, we want people to hear about Housing Now and why this work is so important, why tonight is so important. So here is the video, Housing Now.
On October 7th, 1989, tens of thousands of people marched on the U.S. Capitol building in Washington, D.C. They gathered to hear Tracy Chapman talking about a revolution and Stevie Wonder call out for love and kindness. They gathered to be inspired by the words of Jesse Jackson, Susan Sarandon, Martin Sheen, Coretta Scott King, and the event's organizers from the National Coalition for the Homeless, National Low-Income Housing Coalition, the Community for Creative Nonviolence, and the National Union of the Homeless. They gathered to stand in solidarity, those who were homeless themselves, along with their housed allies. They gathered to protest the severe lack of safe, decent, and affordable housing in the United States. October 7th was a sunny autumn day, and the flags surrounding the Washington Monument flapped in the breeze as marchers who had crossed the Potomac River from the Pentagon merged with a mass of people gathered at the monument. Others walked the nearly 4 miles from RFK Stadium, where they had been sheltered in the days leading up to the march. As they converged, the marchers made their way past the AIDS quilt laid out in rows on the National Mall, down Connecticut Avenue toward the Capitol. Some estimates put the number of protesters at 150,000. They came from the streets and the shelters, from churches, union halls, and school playgrounds. They came from kitchen tables and park benches where local organizing efforts were born. They came from Miami and Portland, Denver and Los Angeles. They came by the busload from Boston and Atlanta. More than 500 people came by bus from Chicago alone, and a group of 250 people walked to Washington from New York City, a trek of 16 days. Children from Dayton, Ohio pulled red wagons full of letters to Congress pleading for action. And people came from the streets of the nation's capital itself, where they would sleep again that night and the next and the next. Together they had one simple demand: housing now for all Americans. Specifically, they wanted restoration of $24 billion in federal funding for affordable housing that had been slashed from the nation's budget under the Reagan administration. These cuts, along with the growing income and wealth gap, were widely understood to be a major driver of the dramatic rise in homelessness in the early 1980s. Many local marches prior to October 7th built momentum that culminated in the Housing Now March, which was and remains the largest collective outcry for housing as a basic human right in the nation's history. Building on previous advocacy victories, such as passage of the Stuart B. McKinney Homeless Assistance Act in 1987, the momentum galvanized by the Housing Now March led to additional victories, such as creation of the Cranston-Gonzalez National Affordable Housing Act in 1990. The march also coincided with a groundswell of activism. Local grassroots organizing flourished, and acts of civil disobedience occurred across the United States, including occupation of empty buildings, a coordinated multi-city Take Off the Boards campaign during the months leading up to the Housing Now March. Many of these efforts were led by people who were themselves homeless and by the faith community, which has played a central role in responding to the homelessness crisis. While Housing Now was organized in response to the epidemic of contemporary homelessness in the United States, it is important to recognize that homelessness did not begin in the 1980s. In fact, historians such as Roberta Ann Johnson, Kenneth Kuzmer, Todd DiPastino, and others have documented waves of homelessness that go back to the earliest days of colonization. Over the centuries since it first appeared in the cities of the Eastern Seaboard, homelessness has impacted some more than others. Native Americans and African Americans, immigrants, veterans, people with disabilities, children and youth, and the elderly. Homelessness has spiked with each major economic recession and has receded as more humane policies have gone into effect, including veterans' benefits after the Civil War, Social Security for all Americans, Medicare and Medicaid, and a massive infusion of federal funding for affordable housing in the years following World War II. This combination of housing, healthcare access, and guaranteed income caused homelessness to recede, so that when the homelessness epidemic exploded in American cities in the 1980s, it felt new. Since then, millions of Americans have experienced firsthand the horrors of living without a home. Men, women, children, youth, and young adults, veterans who fought for this country only to be failed by it when they returned from war, people suffering from mental illness and addiction, people fleeing domestic violence. In cities across the U.S., people of color, particularly Native Americans and African Americans, remain disproportionately overrepresented among the ranks of those experiencing homelessness. Homelessness is not new, it is not colorblind, and it is not inevitable. Homelessness can be shaped by changes in public policy and funding priorities, which can in turn be shaped by grassroots organizing and civil disobedience. As the United States continues to face homelessness on a massive scale well into the 21st century, it is important to ask what we can learn from the past, from our successes and our failures. First, community-based grassroots organizing is an essential catalyst for social change. Those in power never cede that power without well-organized, focused outside pressure. Political will is absolutely essential to create social change and to drive resources to solve homelessness, but it will never occur without strong, unified organizing. Second, those most affected by homelessness must be in decision-making roles around funding, policy, programming, and advocacy. Finally, we need a dramatic recommitment of resources at the national level to restore affordable housing to a level that allows every American to have a roof over their head. Such a commitment requires political will and a collective commitment to move beyond our society's complacency and acceptance of homelessness as inevitable. As we seek to learn from the past and chart a better course for the days ahead, we must rethink our current approach, recommit to grassroots organizing, and elevate the voices of people experiencing homelessness. Housing Now 2020 represents a step in that direction. Designed to re-energize local, state, and national advocacy, Housing Now 2020 provides a platform for advocates to come together to demand a significant increase in federal funding that keeps pace with rising local need. Housing is a basic human right. Homelessness is not inevitable. We must and we can do better.
So I want to thank you all for watching. Thanks to our technical crew there for getting it on. We are right on time with our program tonight. I thank you all who are just joining us. This is the first annual Virtual Homeless and Awareness Week concert. We're hoping that this is the first and only. I know all of us want to be back out and amongst each other and hugging each other and loving each other. Hopefully we have a cure next year and we can do that. But for now, we're going to do it this way and hope that you all enjoy tonight. We're going to bring on our next performer. And our next performer is another NCH board member, Mr. Richard Troxell. Richard Troxell is the founder and past president of House the Homeless. He's been there for over 30 years. He also created and operated legal aid for the homeless for over 30 years, and he has been an NCH board member since 1997. NCH board member, poet, author, sculptor, and my good friend. I know he's not the sculptor, but he's the designer, Mr. Richard Troxell.
Good evening. Thank you, Donald. As Director of Legal Aid for the Homeless, I've gotten over 2,000 people disability benefits and overall worked on homeless issues for 40 years and started off being homeless for 3 years myself. Through all of that, people taught me that they need hope, dignity, and fairness. And to end their homelessness, that they need livable incomes. For those who can work 40 hours a week, they need food, clothing, shelter, and public transportation to get to that job and to get that housing, living wage jobs. And for those who cannot work, they need an SSI check big enough to get the housing they need and the basics of life. The first poem I'll share is called Homelessness. A gal named Karen Ann Brown slipped the poem into my backpack in 1992. It's never been read publicly. Homelessness. I finished my drink and stared at the bottom of my cup. It was a good cup. It had been with me for a long time, longer than most. It was a little cracked at the top and would no longer hold as much, but that's okay. I don't need as much these days. Etched on the inside are stains and past drinks, some light and some dark. There remained They remind me of the past when my cup was full and sometimes not so full, filled at times with things hot, cold, or often just wet. As I sit and sigh into my cup, it dawns on me that people came into my life and left just like those drinks, leaving nothing behind but the dregs and sometimes stains as the only record of their passing. Oh, how sweet some of them were. It seems at times I could never get enough, that my cup of life was never full. Where and how did they slip away? Did my taste become so sated or dulled that I noticed not when they were gone? And was I just a passing drink of water to them, something which quenched the moment and was then forgotten? Their memories in my mind are like the stains in my cup, a mere substance with no sustenance. And I am like my cup, disposable. The second poem that I'll share tonight is based on a true story I wrote within minutes of reading the newspaper article about John's arrest. It's entitled Crystal Clear. And the note read, "Give my brothers a home, bread to eat, water to drink, and let the homeless learn to be citizens in a foreign land." And the note had been wrapped tightly about a stone, and he flung it full force through the priceless glass crystal window, and the act had shattered its beauty forever. And he had said that he would do it again and again until they treated his brothers and sisters with love. And he said he would do it again, and he would do it again and again and again, and it shattered their priceless lives like crystal, again and again and again and again and again and again. This poem was inspired by a true incident that occurred in Austin, Texas in March 1991. Finally, I want you all to know that it is almost impossible to fully comprehend what it is like to experience homelessness. I wish to thank our friends Donald Whitehead and Sue Watlaw Phillips for giving us this opportunity to share our thoughts and to have this discussion through our music and poetry. Thank you and good night.
Thank you so much, Richard. Richard is an amazing, he kind of underscored how important he is to the homeless movement in the country and also in Austin, Texas. Please, another round of applause for Richard Troxel. And so now I want to move on to our next act. Our next act, this is a guy I call my brother from another mother. He is actually the former legislative director for the office of Representative John Carson. Representative Carson actually helped us to draft the Bring America Home Act, the most comprehensive bill. Had we passed that bill, we would have ended homelessness about 10 years ago. Unfortunately, we didn't get the support we needed from Congress. Joel is an amazing advocate. He's now left Congress and he is in North Carolina where he continues his advocacy work. He did a great job on organizing people in North Carolina for the election, getting people out to vote. He also is the executive director of Jammin. Jammin works on both homeless housing and environmental issues. And he is an amazing bass player. The next few acts will be instrumental acts. So we're gonna go right to Mr. Joel Siegel from North Carolina.
Good evening, Donald.
Good evening.
I want to thank you for years and years of advocacy for the homeless. I'm formerly homeless for 4 years. I used to cry when I talked about it, but I don't cry anymore. I just organize. Last night, I went to Tent City here in Charlotte. Over 500 people living in tents, no food. They were freezing. They didn't have medication. And it brought back all the memories of what I went through when I ran homeless shelters and when I was homeless. And I did what I could to get PPEs and blankets. The first thing I want to say is a debt of gratitude towards Sue, to the NCH board for not giving up on ending something that's such a needless tragedy. It's not hard to spend $80 to $100 billion to house people. Should be a right, not a privilege. Black homeless lives matter. Majority of the people who were at the tent city, they were Black. Not one city councilman, no mayor, no county commissioner has been there, nor has the interfaith community. I don't come here to bring everybody down. I come here to celebrate because we're going to end homelessness. Can I get an amen?
Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Amen.
Amen and Amen and Ashe.
Right on. Now, I am going to start playing in a minute. I am a professional bass player and I'm a professional recording artist. I just finished my last CD called Funkology 101, which I will make available to everybody for free. If we're going to end homelessness, then we're going to have to be in rhythm. We can't have hundreds and hundreds of siloed nonprofits working on homelessness. Donald, I'm going to have to be honest with you and everyone tonight. I do feel like there's been the creation of a poverty industrial complex where people who run homeless shelters, nonprofit organizations, not NCH, have become what I call poverty pimps. Poverty pimps are those making money, as my good friend Harry Belafonte would say, and my former Congressman John Conyers, off the pain and suffering of others. The days of poverty pimping must end, and we must have an affordable housing policy where there are more houses than those looking for them. But in order to be a movement, you have to be in rhythm. You can't act independently. Rhythm is very important, not just as a bass player, but as a movement. You have to have love. You have to have respect. You have to listen to people. I am the person who got kicked out of a hospital at George Washington because I was uninsured. I organized 1,000 homeless people over a 2-year period, and I launched the universal healthcare movement from the steps of the Capitol. That's how I got to Mr. Conyers' office, and I was the lead staffer on Obamacare. I wrote the bill Medicare for All, HR 676, and I am the original author of the Bring America Home bill that Donald and NCH helped co-author. We had a movement in 23 cities led by Donald Whitehead. Please support Donald Whitehead, because Donald Whitehead and the NCH organization is the single most important organization in our nation to end homelessness. Give them your money and respect them and love them. All right, now we're going to celebrate with a little bit of music, and I'm going to read a little, I got just a few more minutes, so I'm going to play a little bit, then I'm going to read something. Rhythm, here's rhythm.
I asked everybody to turn your video off, please.
That's called rhythm. Now I'm going to read something. My name is Joel Siegel. When I was 30 years old, I had major surgery. I came back to my apartment in Adams Morgan, and my furniture was in the street. I was disabled. I had severe sleep apnea. My doctor said I would never live. I couldn't go back to work, and my mother was not able to house me because she was having problems with her husband. I slept in a building in DuPont Circle. It's hard to sleep on a concrete floor with carpeting. I couldn't sleep for a week. So then I stayed with a friend in Ward 8, Anacostia, and I heard gunfire. Every night I was scared to death. When I went to go sleep at my friend's house, I was told what side of the couch to sleep on because there were bullet holes in the house. I got to see poor Black America, something that a white guy from the suburbs with a law degree from UNC Chapel Hill would never see. I slept in basements. I slept in shelters. I cried every night for 2 years. I moved to Atlanta in my early 30s because I was uninsured and my country would not give me health care and I could not be treated in Charlotte. Once again, homeless for 2 years. I cried myself to sleep every night. Ronald Reagan cut the HUD budget by $80 billion between 1981 and 1985. Clinton did the 3 strikes you're out and the war on drugs. And by the stroke of 2 pens, we now have question. Where is President Joe, senior advisor? Where's the Black Caucus? Where are the NGOs? Where are the interfaith groups? Where are the mayors? Where are the county commissioners? Where is the city council? Where are the state legislators? Where are the interfaith leaders? We progressives have accepted the Reagan Revolution. We have built a poverty industrial complex. People getting jobs in homeless shelters, social services, wrong. We in America view the homeless as subhuman. We crush them down when we know they have mental illness, they're physically and mentally abused. I and many other homeless leaders across the country are drafting federal legislation to end homelessness, create social services, and make sure that this criminal subhuman system of being unhoused never happens again in this country. How many more conferences we need to go to where people talk about ending homelessness, but then do nothing afterwards? How many speeches, how many turkey sandwiches do you need to eat? It's time to channel MLK, Nelson Mandela, Gandhi, Rosa Parks. Time to be activist. Time to be unrealistic. Time to distribute the wealth from the rich to the poor. No more shelters. We need homes. No more shelters. We need more homes. No more shelters. We should already know. 21st century slavery is homelessness. Has got to go. 21st century slavery has got to go. This is what a woman told me in a homeless shelter that I used to run. I hate the shelter. It's no place for me because in the shelter, I lose my dignity. I just want my own home. That's my own. I just want my own home. That's my own. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, a warm round of applause for Mr. Joel Siegel. Thank you, Joel.
Thank you.
Amazing testimony. Thank you. And again, I want to tell you, these are real stories. These are real people, some amazing artists, vocalists, and advocates for this issue. And we're going to keep it going. for our next performer. He comes from perhaps the best state in the entire union, in the best city in the entire union, Mr. Howard Page. He learns his advocacy from a church group that gives out food in North College Hill, and again, the greatest city in the entire United States, Cincinnati, Ohio. And with that, I'll give you Mr. Howard Page.
Thanks, Donald. Thanks for having me here tonight. As Donald said, I worked at a community supper at my church for a little over 10 years, every Wednesday night, and I had the chance to get to know, on a personal level, lots of homeless people. And I heard many stories that are just every bit as sad as the one you're going to hear in this song. But I decided to try and raise awareness and change perceptions and give those people a voice with my music. So this song is called "This Is My Home Now." Living the dream in a house in suburbia with 2 kids, a dog, and my wife. Well, I had a budding career as an architect, so looking forward to life. And everything I'd ever dreamed about, I had it all in the palm of my hand. Now it's only a memory, but why it all happened, I really still can't understand. I still remember the call from the hospital. It's sad, but unfortunately, your wife and your children were in a bad accident. We couldn't save all 3. Your daughter is here in a coma for who knows how long, but at least she's alive. We're sorry to tell you, despite all our efforts, your son and your wife did not survive. And this is my home now, but I didn't choose to live here. It might look like a sidewalk to you. Hell, it looks like a sidewalk to me too. You gotta believe me, I'd rather live anywhere else. And I know you see me, so why don't you help? Our CEO got caught embezzling millions. The firm soon went bankrupt and died. And all of our pensions, insurance, and benefits were gone in the blink of an eye. I sold both my cars and my house to pay doctor bills, sold everything that I had, but managed to hang on a couple of months with some money I got from my dad. And this is my home now, but I didn't choose to live here. It might look like a sidewalk to you. Hell, it looks like a sidewalk to me too. You gotta believe me, I'd rather live anywhere else. And I know you see me, so why don't you help? Well, how many cars are in your garage? How many TVs do you need? With all of the food you throw out every week, how many of us could you feed? Now all my possessions are here in this shopping cart, except for the clothes on my back. I'm doing the best that I can to get by, so why don't you just cut me some slack? Public opinion and concern for the homeless are both at an all-time low. And everyone here has been told to get out, but we really got no place to go. And this is my home now. But I didn't choose to live here. It might look like a sidewalk to you. Hell, it looks like a sidewalk to me too. Gotta believe me, I'd rather live anywhere else. And I know you see me, you pretend not to see me. And I know you see me, so why don't you help?
Thank you so much, Howard. I want to thank everybody. Love that Cincinnati talent.
Hey, thank you. My pleasure.
If no one's
Thanks,
guessed
guys.
by now, I'm from Cincinnati as well. So I want to thank Howard and thank all of the wonderful performers that we've had so far. We're going to move on to our next performer. Please, those of you that went through the sound check, check right before you come on to make sure your sound settings haven't switched back. We found on a couple of people that the sound settings go back to the default setting, and sometimes it'll create glitches in your sound. So if you did your sound check, make sure right before you go on that those settings are in place. I'm going to introduce our next performer. Her name is Caitlin Cobb. Caitlin Cobb is a 28-year-old millennial. She is the social media communications director and executive assistant at the Transformative Justice Coalition, and an at-large individual voting member of the National Coalition for the Homeless. From 2010 to 2015, she was homeless for the majority of that time. These songs are her story. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Caitlin Cobb.
This first song is my song called Trash Bag, and I wrote it after a conference in Cincinnati with the Purple Project and foster youth there, after hearing so many stories of people talking about leaving with a trash bag and remembering my own stories as well. So, life is a misery, yeah, I've seen it all. When I was walking down the street with nothing at all, I only had a trash bag, it contained everything I had. When I was dragging it behind me down the street, how could it hide the pain? How could it hide the tears? How could it hide from the rain? How could it hide from my fears? With no shelter above me, I only had these streets, just my trash bag and me. How did this happen? How did this happen? She said, get up, you gotta go. I've had enough, hit the road. Now the only things that you'll own is whatever can fit in a suitcase and one trash bag. Where you'll end up tonight, I don't know. I'm showing you tough love just so you'll know. You've messed up too bad, so I'm throwing you out. Get up, you gotta go. Brightly shining sun greets the morning. Dog and let's roll, say goodnight. Highways to hell in my world morning. All these long days with no good night. If you ask, I swear I'm a traveler, built in truth, the best life. She says it's all my fault, my fate I anchored. So me and my trash bag drag again tonight. People are unpredictable, I know too well. One moment it's heaven, the next it's hell. I had no permanent support. They left when they got what they came for. Quickly realized who was by my side when I'm sleeping beside my trash bag at night. My trash bag couldn't go the distance, but my trash bag had to travel with me. My trash bag couldn't have more than could fit. My trash bag couldn't be too heavy. Bouncing from place to place, that would or wouldn't have me. Just my trash bag and me. How did this happen? How did this happen? She said, get up, you gotta go. I've had enough, hit the road. Now the only things that you'll own is whatever can fit in a suitcase and one trash bag. Wailing up tonight, I don't know. Showing you tough love just so you know. You've messed up too bad, so I'm throwing you out. Get up, you gotta go. Brightly shining sun greets the morning. Dark endless road, say goodnight. Highways to hell and my world mourning. All these long days with no good night. If you ask, I swear I'm a traveler, built in truth, the best lies. She says it's all my fault, my fate I anchor. So me and my trash bag drag again tonight. So me and my trash bag drag again tonight. So me and my trash bag, gets funny how we live, how so many will do everything and anything to live a life not on the streets. Buy a house, rent a room, be locked in the golden handcuffs of doom. Yet when you see a homeless person, you have no empathy for them. You always think it's drugs. They would ask for food if they were really in need. They were probably making bank begging here on the snow on the streets. And when you think I'm special, you'll go out on a limb. But so much potential doesn't matter when no one looks inside the shelter where I am. They said I'm too pretty to be homeless. Like it's okay if you weren't attracted to me. Like only my looks determine my success, and those not deemed worthy are reduced to second-class citizenry. It's funny too how so many inspirational stories end with I was almost on the streets, and I'm not judging but just proving that it is the worst thing that one can imagine being. I lived it for the majority of 5 years. I don't wish it on anyone, but I do want you to understand homeless people's tears. My home was a tent and a bando, a cot in a church, a bench. Only a night shelter, so during the day, walking pregnant in the rain, completely drenched. What you assume, what you think you know, you really don't. And understand the different situations that can lead to that. You're so about adoption over abortion, but don't lend a hand to help all the current foster children. They get woken up to be told to get a trash bag too, to go to an uncertain place, forced to an unstable fate. And if they age out, they are, for the final time, told to gather their things and leave. And sadly, because of this, a high percentage of them end up on the streets. Maybe show some compassion. Open your heart to recognize another person. So when you see just my trash bag in me, you won't just try to stick a Band-Aid on the crisis so you won't have to be a witness to my poverty. You'll empathize that being in and getting out of homelessness isn't easy, but you knew that already because isn't it funny? We spend our whole lives, we work our whole lives away so we don't have to sleep on the streets. Life is a mystery. How did this happen? How did this happen? She said, get up, you gotta go. I've had enough, hit the road. Now the only things that you'll own is whatever can fit in a suitcase and one trash bag. Where you'll end up tonight, I don't know. I'm showing you tough love just so you'll know. You've messed up too bad, so I'm throwing you out. Get up, you gotta go. Brightly shining sun greets the morning. Dark endless road, say goodnight. Highways to hell and my world mourning. All these long days with no good night. If you ask, I swear I'm a traveler built in truth, the best lies. She says it's all my fault, a fate I anchor. So me and my trash bag drag again tonight. So me and my trash bag drag again tonight. So me and my trash bag drag. And that was my song, Trash Bag. And the second song I want to do, everybody likes to call it Human. For me, it's called Do You See Me as Human? I'm all alone, sitting here, waiting for you to come back to me. I'm all alone, sitting here, watching you just pass me. I have so much potential if I just had the chance. Need the opportunity to show who I am. I could be someone special, leave a legacy, but instead I'm sitting here, another homeless person on these streets. Do you see me when you pass by? Do you know I'm human? Do you see all the tears I cry? Lonely cold night on these streets again. Another night ahead of wondering if anyone will see me for who I am. That I'm intelligent, full of potential, just in a bad circumstance, all alone in this world. I've been trying to free myself, but I can't do it alone. I need your help. Ability is nothing without an opportunity. Wanna be Napoleon and write my own legacy, but our circumstances decide my fate for me. Just need society to give me a chance. See who I can be, see who I am, and see me as human. Do you see me as human? And I have so much potential if I just had a chance. And that was that. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Caitlin. We have our next performers. Could you
was
guys give
awesome.
her a round of applause? I think that was just amazing. And I really am so glad to have Caitlin aboard, because we know that that we can't really change this world unless we get young people involved. And I thank you so much
Thank you.
for joining the coalition. Thank you for your wonderful presentation and your wonderful spirit.
Thanks, Caitlin.
We're going to make a slight adjustment here. We actually have a performer who is en route. And so because of that, we're going to change the script around just a little bit. We're right on time though. But I do want to, for those who are watching on Facebook, for those who are watching here on the Zoom chat, I want to ask everybody to please, on behalf of all these wonderful people, on behalf of these wonderful stories, because you saw that video and you get to know a little bit about the history of this issue, I'm going to ask you to take the time to make a donation to the National Coalition for the Homeless. We are survived by the grace of people like you out in the community, who even in this time of need, we ask that you, if it's $1, if it's 50 cents, whatever you can give, please take the time out to give. You can give on Facebook right now, or you can go to Donate Now Network for Good.org, National Coalition for the Homeless. That is in your chat box. And I'll actually put it in again. You can donate that way. You can also donate by sending us a donation directly to the National Coalition for the Homeless, 2201 P Street, Northwest, Washington, D.C., 20037. So again, that's National Coalition for the Homeless, 2201 P Street, Northwest, Washington, D.C., 20037. You can go to our Facebook page. You can also go to our website, www.nationalhomeless.org. You can reach us by airplane. You can reach us by train. However you get there, please get there if you can. Some of you may have heard that before, but please, if you can, support the National Coalition for the Homeless. We would love to have your support so we can keep making a difference in the lives of some of the wonderful people you've heard tonight, and more importantly, those that are still suffering. I'm gonna really quickly, I actually had a request to do an additional poem as we wait for our next performer. So if Dr. Rajni Shankar Brown is still listening, we're gonna bring you back on and give you a chance to do another poem.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, Donald. And thank you again for everybody who's joining us tonight to support the NCH, and especially really being cognizant of so many that are living without basic human rights, right? Especially in a nation that has so much, plenty of food and resources. To think about that is really, really heart-shattering. I'll tell you, I just visited with one of my friends, Jazz. She is only 9 years old, living in a tent. And she has had such a life already in her short 9 years of life, where they had to move from place to place. She was molested as a kid. Her and her mom had to move to another place. And then her mom was enduring physical abuse. So they left there because of domestic violence. And they are living in the woods now, right? And even in Florida, it's getting pretty chilly at night for us, right? Nothing like what the rest of the nation, of course, is probably experiencing, but very, very sad, right? And just thinking about how folks have to weather the weather, and without those human rights, it is just heartbreaking. So I'm going to share with you, this is the poem I mentioned earlier, for those of you who were on earlier, from my book, To Luminous. And so in this collection of poetry, I really kind of wrestle with and play with ideas of social justice and try to advocate in ways. And one of the poems is Poverty Pleads. And so I'll share this with you now. Poverty pleads, poverty restlessly squats on a splice of concrete decorated with cigarette butts, broken glass, and muddled graphite pleading each second. Poverty industriously pleads and bleeds, tears red as cherry Kool-Aid in baby bottles, covered in ruby lipstick stains exchanged for infected dollars. Pleads and bleeds red as fire ants nesting in a dumpster mined pillows, inside of moldy half-eaten subs and in the cracks of discarded plastic toys. Poverty tries to sleep in a sparsely duct-taped box, woken by flashing lights, a paradoxical parody, painfully called life, also known as poverty. Poverty hurts. She hurts deeply. It's the type of pain that excruciates and nauseates, crushes and tortures, making death a desired utopia. She hurts deeply and relentlessly. Poverty chisels and chews ceaselessly through all shades of flesh, especially black and brown, chiseling and chewing on human bones, masticating fragments of dreams and spitting them to vultures. Poverty, it's exhausting. Poverty exhaustingly sighs in desperation, stenches urine, laboring sweat, looming expiration, sometimes making the thought of dying more bearable than living. Poverty, dystopia, now utopia. She hurts deeply and relentlessly. She hurts. Poverty violently attacks mothers and children before they are even born, swallowing in ruthless gulps precious budding lives. Poverty, you see, poverty discriminates and does not discriminate, right? It affects all of us in ways, sparks mixed reactions, and some deny her existence while stepping on her spine with stiletto-studded cleats, tattooing haunting narratives on the flesh of brothers and sisters. Poverty sparks mixed reactions, denial on the right, heartache on the left. Some momentarily clutch their hearts along with their purses, might shed a tear, offer empty sympathy and prayer, both right and left, complacently engaged in daily warfare. Poverty restlessly sits before us. It is in our palms. It is pleading with us to take care, to rise, to alleviate her incessant wrath, deep and relentless pain that penetrates every vein. Poverty bleeds. It is a crying of cessation. It pleads and it bleeds and it bleeds and it pleads, and it hurts. And it hurts not one, not two, not millions, but all of us. Poverty, homelessness hurts. Deeply and relentlessly, it hurts. But in this hurt, there is also hope. And that hope is you and me and us. It is a collective future where we march for human rights together. Thank you, Donald.
Dr. Brown, thank you so much. Another round of applause.
Thank you so much.
And I, again, want to thank all of our amazing performers. And I don't know if you've noticed, we've kind of taken a geographic tour around the country. So we've had people from Florida and Cincinnati and Washington, D.C., and we've had people from all over the country, as I said. So we're going to actually go to another state, one of those unrepresented, not a battleground state anymore, and I'm happy to hear that. So we have a state in the middle of our country where there's always a lot of passion coming from. So I'm going to bring you, and we've also spanned generations, as you've seen. We've seen young people, we've seen younger people, we've seen middle-aged men and young men, and we'll have a few more different generations. But homelessness can attack you no matter how old you are, no matter how young you are, whether you're Black, you're white, you're rich or poor at the time. Homelessness is, it does not respect any boundary. And so I'm going to bring on a grandmother. Julia Dinsmore is both a mother and a grandmother. She is from Minneapolis, Minnesota. She is also a poet, a singer, an author, an educator, and lifelong poverty, and homelessness abolitionist in her state, region, and around the United States. Welcome, Julia Dinsmore. Excuse me.
Thank you, Donald. It's so good to be here. I feel so inspired hearing everybody's voices and talent sharing. Right now, I'm going to share a poem I'm most known for. It's the first thing I ever wrote that was longer than a song, and it spread around the entire planet. And it happened because a group of parents who were trapped in the poverty industry in the welfare system were organizing to end our homelessness and our precariously housed situations for our children. And we raised money and we worked really long and hard to get our first family to buy a home for a mom with 7 kids. And we went to partner with a church that wanted to work with us and went to the finance committee and asked them if they would be the fiscal agent. And we brought white male housing developers, nonprofit housing developers in to say the same pitch that we would, only they get believed. I call that social ventriloquism in my organizing toolkit. Anyways, when we got done pitching with them, after we raised the money to purchase the first house, the chair of the finance committee said, "Those people don't need housing. We give them turkeys at Christmas time." Like you can live in a turkey. I couldn't believe it. I was heartbroken and pissed, and I do what we do. We know how to create our own dopamine in our brains and how to create our own Prozac. I went home and wrote this poem. My name is not those people. I'm a loving woman, a mother in pain, giving birth to the future where my babies have the same chance to thrive as anyone. My name is not inadequate. I did not make my baby daddy leave us. He chose to and chose not to pay child support, although on a migrant worker's income, there wasn't enough left at the end of his check. Truth is, though, there isn't, nor has there ever been, a job base for every family to make bootstraps and pull ourselves out of poverty in America. While society turns its head, my children pay the price. My name is not problem and case to be managed. I'm a capable human being and a citizen, not just a client. The social service system can never replace the compassion and concern of loving mothers and fathers, grandmas and grandpas, aunties, uncles, cousins, community, all the bonded people who need to be, but are not present to bring our children forward to their potential. Can I get a finger snap? My name is not lazy dependent welfare mother. If the unwaged work, let me say that again. If the unwaged work of parenting, homemaking, caregiving, and community building was factored into the gross domestic product, my work would have untold value. And why is it that my middle-class sisters who live across the street from me, whose husbands support them to stay home and raise their children, why do they get glorified and they don't get called lazy and dependent? My name is not ignorant, dumb, or uneducated. I got my PhD. You can call me Dr. Dinsmore. I got my PhD in poverty, hunger, and desperation from the University of Life School of Hard Everything. I live with an income of $621 and $169 in food stamps for me, my 3 kids, and every child that came knocking at our door, because you know, children are good survivors and they know which mama still has food in the cupboard. They will show up. I live with an income of $621 with $169 in food stamps. Rent is $585. That leaves $36 a month to live on. I am such a genius at surviving that I could balance the state budget in an hour. Now, somebody did try to nominate me for the state budget committee in Minnesota when Jesse Ventura was our governor, but you know, they weren't taking welfare mothers. I'm sure they still aren't, but everybody knows we can stretch $1 into the next century. Can I get a finger snap? Never mind that there's a lack of living wage jobs underpinning this. Never mind that it's impossible to be the sole emotional, social, economic, and spiritual support to a growing family. Never mind that parents are losing our children to gangs, drugs, stealing, prostitution, the poverty industry, social workers, kidnapping, the streets, the predator. Forget about putting more money in our schools, just build more prisons. My name is not lay down and die quietly. God gave me a big mouth and a big heart. And now I found out my IQ is not equal to my income. Oh, and my butt is bigger than Kim Kardashian. So there we go. We got a four-factor there. Oh, my love is powerful. And the urge to keep my sons alive will never, ever stop. All children need homes. All children need people who love them. All children need safety and the chance to be the people they were born to be. The wind will stop before I acquiesce to my sons becoming a statistic. Now, before you give in to the urge to blame, the blame that lets us go blind and unknowing into the isolation that disconnects your humanity from mine, take another look and don't go away. For I am not the problem, but the solution. And my name is not those people. The end. And here's my book. My poem turned into a book. And the first thing I ever wrote. And I had to teach myself how to write it while I wrote it. So that's pretty amazing.
Yay, bravo,
Amazing,
bravo.
amazing. So our next performer, I have 3 in a row. Thank you so much, Julia. I see that one of our really fine. So we have kind of a blend of people. We have some professionals, we have some PhDs, we have some people who have amazing talent. They've never been published, they've never been on a record or anything like that. And then we have some professionals as well. One of those professionals has just joined us. He is one of the most gifted gospel singers in the world. He's also an amazing playwright. And he's going to bless us tonight with a song. And he is, again, I'm sorry about this, kind of stacking this, but he's also from that great city that I talked about. So ladies and gentlemen, Mr. David Mizell. David Mizell, are you ready? Okay, we're going to come back to David because I know he's getting his technology together now. We'll move on to the next person on our lineup. How about Mr. Bruce Wilton?
Okay, thank you for everyone being here. It's really moving and uplifting to find that there's people out there that really care about this issue, and the experiences of people that have gone through difficult times. I came from a background in, well, actually, I started off college at Georgia Tech, and I was in engineering, and I wanted to learn how to not be shy. I was dealing with shyness, and what was important to me was to build connections to other people, and that was like the greatest importance to me. And as I started overcoming my shyness, I thought, well, I don't really want to be an engineer. What do I want to do? I want to, I figured out with some work that I want to become a social worker. I want to be working 40 hours a week directly with people and helping them and hearing their stories and just being with them. And that would be the dream for me. And I did accomplish that. So I went on and I became a social worker. I volunteered at a psychiatric hospital because that was the first thing I did because of the major change from going from engineering into social work. I had to get experience. So, and then I wrote these poems over the past few years, and I collected a few of these to read. For this, I was, like I said, I'm dealing with shyness, so I wasn't sure I was going to read, but here we go. This one is, this is about, I went to a poetry read or a play that was on homelessness, and I was really moved to tears when I heard the performance. So, exposure and courage. I did it, confronted my fear of rejection and met a star, a homeless woman named Rita, who was in a play at the Art Center called Home is Not One Story, a powerful drama on homelessness. Too bad her performance won't be bringing in royalties to keep her comfortable. She told her true story to the audience, a story full of pain, insecurity, and no home. I could relate. I wanted to ask her so many questions. Where does one find the motivation to reveal private details of living as an outsider? I found the courage to admit in passing that during the performance, I was in tears. Then, today I saw her in town again at Weir Street Market, an upscale outdoor gathering place where progressives mingle at outdoor tables, and some of us come from the shelter hoping to not stand out for our wretched condition. Today, I don't have the courage to meet the star. Was it enough exposure there on the stage? We both sit alone. Would it make a difference if I got up on stage, shared my story? No one asked, but probably this day would have been the same, even if I had that courage. We'd both be sitting here alone, invisible. And the next one's called The Shy Ones. And so I relate a lot shyness, the low self-esteem, the feeling of being outside, outcast, or alone. And again, you know, as someone who came from being a social worker, I never thought I would actually become homeless. And that did happen to me between late 2000 and 2006. And this is all these poems are looking back at a life that I lived. The shy ones. You've walked right by me, sat on the same bus near me, and not noticed me, shy, invisible. But I've seen you and watched and wondered why I sit on the outside like an outcast. Why? What is it about me? Maybe it is something that isn't there, something missing, wrong. I wonder, what makes people stand out? Shy guys like me never figure out that, never figured that out because we're too afraid to ask, to stand out. I wonder if anyone notices us, if anyone stops and thinks about us, or thinks about the guy sitting alone and wonders what's on his mind. That would be socially inappropriate, you think? Not to mind your own business, to stare, to assume he's alone and waiting just for you to talk to him, and he's not going to tell you that this is exactly what he wants. I notice people, not just the shy ones, not just the ones that stand out or those who are outcasts, not just the ones that are alone, but I notice them too. I can relate. And many times I rehearse things to say, assuming that some people just want someone to ask them, what's on their mind? But many times they disappear before I have a chance to say anything. Eventually, I'll find the courage and the right timing someday. So the next ones are about how I kind of like became homeless. Well, here's one, another one about the feeling of being homeless. So it's called an as if person. He lived an as if life. He asked himself, what was different about himself now compared to just 6 months ago? He held two contradictory beliefs at once. He knew there was nothing different about his nature, character, or intelligence that existed just 6 months ago. Now he was homeless, though, and he believed he was wretched. He had lost his job and his home and his family. He wasn't a different person. He had the same goals, dreams, desires, capacity for love, the same morals and intellect. But he began to see himself the way he recognized that others saw him, and he was good at seeing through the eyes of others. And thus he held two contradictory views at the same time about himself. The reality he knew and the as-if view of himself viewed through the eyes of others and their assumptions. He began to think of himself as if he was a different person, probably a failure, maybe an alcoholic or addict, unmotivated, lazy. The only truth was that he lost hope. But he learned that he would learn that he was looking through the eyes of those who knew nothing of compassion and understanding, which is not how he would have seen someone who was in a similar situation. That's my own perspective. So, like I said, I was a social worker who would wanted to make sure that people would not become homeless or would be able to find resources if that happened. And also I wanted to help people who had psychological problems. I mean, just most vulnerable, because I had recognized that in myself, growing up with abuse and trauma in childhood. So this one's called Too Much Empathy. I heard my voice recorded, but I was shocked. It was my voice, but I was so fearful, paranoid, not grounded in reality. To this day, I don't understand how I became like this, how the traumatic experiences to which I was exposed has sent me down the rabbit hole, and why I didn't notice when I started falling. I think you had too much empathy, my friend said. I remember the shame, the confusion. This was me, caught up in conspiracy theories, satanic ritual abuse, and government mind control. I never believed in any of it, but I heard my voice, and like a flashback, I remember the terror and the paranoia. too much empathy? No, I had been exposed to pain and trauma for years, and never had I been changed, transformed into a state of temporary insanity. I was a scientist for years before I became a therapist, yet I understood now the confusion, disorientation, fear, and stress that overwhelmed the minds of so many others. I was so certain it wouldn't happen to me. I had prepared that every challenge that stood in the way, and there were many. Maybe there was a purpose to this. I have a unique understanding now. I really understand. But have to warn other therapists. Everyone who cares has a limit. So this is another one of those confessional poems in the vein of Sylvia Plath. And just, I know that mental health problems can become caused by, homelessness and other traumatic experiences. Just, it's really hard to feel good about yourself when you're homeless and you feel like you're just thrown out and just, it's just really intense and traumatic. And so, or, in my case, a lot of things happened suddenly in 2000 with my wife becoming suddenly ill. I had my own private practice, and I was just overwhelmed by trying to help people who had trauma disorders. And so that's what that last poem speaks to, about having too much empathy and needing to take care of yourself. And the last one is called post-traumatic stress disorder. I like to think I'm just like anyone else, that we all have limits. There's only so much we can take, so much pain, fear, loss, trauma. There's only so much any of us can experience and remain sane and remain true to our ideals, our values, who we are, and the person we have become. When the pain, the fear, the terror, the trauma exceeds this limit, we snap, and for a while, we drift away to some place in our mind, someplace utterly unknown, unexpected, outside reality. Maybe we come back, and then again, maybe we don't. It depends on what might call us back, or in other words. So the above poem was inspired again by the confessional poet of Anne Sexton, Sylvia Plath, and Anne Sexton wrote To Bedlam and Part Way Back, which was a reflection or collection inspired by mental illness and psychiatric hospitalization. She never made it all the way back, I guess, since she took her life. I made it back so far. And that's all I have right now. Thank you for listening.
Bruce, thank you so much. Thank you. I want to just say this before we move on. So amazing that you were willing to walk through your fear and share with us your amazing art. And we are just really privileged to have you share with us tonight, and keep on sharing, keep on walking through your fear. We're all behind you 100%.
I really want to make a difference in the world and let people get to know me and know how much I care.
Thank you so much, Bruce. So we're going to move on to our next performer. And our next performer is a gentleman that I've known. We always kind of mix this up a little bit for at least 25 years. He is from, again, we're doing a geographic tour. This gentleman's from Alabama. As I said, I've known him for 25 years, an amazing advocate, one of the foremost experts on racial equity. We actually partnered together in a group called Racial Equity Partners. If anybody here has heard of the Spark Report, this is the gentleman that co-authored that report. An amazing advocate, really working hard to change policies around racial equity in this country. He has been an executive director, been in every position. I'll let him tell a little bit more about himself. But one of my best friends, a really, really amazing artist. Ladies and gentlemen, you also heard his voice. He was a narrator for the Housing Now 2020 video. I'm sorry, I didn't want to disclose that secret, but I felt like I had to. Ladies and gentlemen, Jeff Olivet.
Donald, thank you. It is so good to be with you all tonight, and it's been so wonderful to hear all the music and the incredible poetry and people sharing of themselves. Like Donald said, I'm from the deep South originally, from Alabama, but I have not lived there for many years. I now split time between Washington, D.C. and Cambridge, Massachusetts, where we are today. And here in Cambridge, it is dark outside. It's getting darker. The days are getting shorter. The nights are getting longer. And as Donald said, I've been in the fight to end homelessness since the early 1990s, and with many of you and our colleagues and friends across the country. One of the roles I have played is as a musician for homeless memorial services around the country on the longest night of winter in December, when we all over the country gather together to read the names of our brothers and sisters who have died on the street. And I've had the privilege and the honor of playing music side by side with friends who are homeless, friends who are housed, allies and activists. And so I'm going to play two songs. The first one is an old gospel song called Wayfaring Stranger that I've played at some of those memorial services. And then I'll go straight into Didn't My Lord Deliver Daniel? Because I think we could all use a little deliverance in this year of 2020. I am a poor wayfaring stranger. Over Jordan, I'm only going over home. Did my Lord deliver Daniel, deliver Daniel, deliver Daniel? Did my Lord deliver Daniel? So why not everyone? He delivered Daniel from the lion's den, Jonah from the belly of the whale, Hebrew children from the fiery furnace. So why not everyone? Did my Lord deliver Daniel, deliver Daniel, deliver Daniel? Did my Lord deliver Daniel? So why not everyone? The moon rolls down in a purple stream. The sun refused to shine.
every star has disappeared. Freedom shall be mine. Did my Lord deliver? Daniel deliver, Daniel deliver, Daniel. Did my Lord deliver? Daniel, then why not everyone? So why not everyone? So why not everyone?
Joel, thank you. So, Jeff, thank you so very much. And you're going to do a second song, or?
That was it. Those were both of them. I just ran them all together.
Okay, I thought you said three. No, no, that was really amazing. You are just a fantastic artist. We really appreciate you being here. I know you have a really busy schedule, but we really appreciate you being here. And thank you for all that you do for homeless people in America.
Thank you so much, Donald, and everybody out there watching and listening. Give money to the National Coalition for the Homeless. These guys are doing fantastic work under Donald's leadership and with a great team of folks. NCH, Donald, keep up your great work in the world. Thanks for
Thank
letting
you,
me be with
Jeff.
tonight.
So we're going to go to our next performer. I had announced him before. We're going to bring him up now. He is one of my oldest friends in the world. He was a mentor for me as a young person. You're on mute, so make sure you take yourself off of mute. Our next performer is one of my favorite singers in the entire world, hailing from that great state of Ohio, in that great city of Cincinnati, Mr. David Mizell. David, can you hear me? David, you're on mute. You have to unmute yourself. Let's see if I need to unmute you.
Okay, I got it. Got me now?
Yes, we hear you.
Praise the Lord. How you doing? How's everybody doing?
Doing well.
I was listening to the poems and it brought back to memory a time when I was downtown and I seen a homeless man approach a businessman and he said, "Sir, could you spare $1?" And the businessman looked at him and he said, "I got $1, but not for you." And then he said, "Why don't you just get a job?" And the homeless man said, "I worked for 15 years, but I got laid off and I didn't have any benefits or anything. And ever since I've been homeless." He said, "All I want to do is just get a bag of potato chips." And the businessman said, "I told you, I don't have any money." And he pushed him and he fell. And I never will forget, he struggled to his feet, put on his hat and he reached in his pocket and he got a little wine bottle and he took a sip. But what he done next blew my mind, D. He looked up to heaven and he just began to sing and he said, "Jesus, you're the center of my joy. All that's good and perfect comes from you. You're the heart of my contentment, hope for all I do. Jesus, you're the center of my joy." When I lost my direction, you were the compass for my way. You're the fire and the light. When nights are long and cold. In sadness, you're the laughter that shadows all of my fears. And when I'm all alone, your hand is there to hold, and I'll never let it go. You're the center of my joy. Glory to God. You're the heart of my contentment. Hallelujah. You're the hope. Jesus, you're the center of. And with tears rolling down his face, he said this, he said, you're why I find pleasure in the simple things in life. You're the music in the mellow and the stream. You, the voices of the children, my family and my home. You're the source and the finish to my highest dream. Yeah. Woo! You're the center of my joy. All this good. Glory to God. You're the heart of my contentment. Hallelujah. You're the hope. If you got that testimony, won't everybody join in and repeat after me? Say, Jesus, you are the center of my joy. Jesus, you are the center of my, y'all know who I'm talking about, don't you? Mary's little baby, Jesus, you are the center of my joy. You are everything, woo, everything, everything, everything. You're my joy in my sorrow. You're my hope for tomorrow. When I'm lonely, feeling bad, you are the lifter of my head. You're my music. You're my song. You're my joy all day long. Oh, you're the center of my joy. My joy. My joy. Hallelujah. Glory to God.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Amazing, amazing, David.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We're going to take a break for just a second. I want everybody to take about 5 minutes. We're going to come back. David's going to do another song for us, right, David?
Sure will.
Okay, so we're going to take about 5 minutes. Everybody go We know that there are some biological things, breaks that people need to make. So please do that. But if you're watching us live on Facebook, now's the time to log on to our Facebook page or our website and make a donation to the National Coalition for the Homeless. You've seen some amazing stuff. We got some more amazing stuff for you. I hope you'll stay with us. We'll be back in 5 minutes.
David, just so you know, your video is on. Your video is still on, David. This is Sue. I'm the board president.
Can you hear me now, Sue?
Yeah.
What do I do to turn it off? I don't know how.
There's a little camera thing that you can put a little mark through on the Zoom on the very bottom of the.
What it says, stop video?
Yep.
Okay. I'm so new to it. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Just come back on. People will just see you walking around. That's why I'm just suggesting.
Okay. Can you see me now?
You're fine. Great.
Okay. All right.
So just mute yourself now.
Good catch, Sue.
For anyone listening in, we're taking a short break and we'll be back in just a few minutes.
We'll resume at 8 o'clock sharp.
Eastern time.
That is correct. It would be Eastern time.
Hey, Donald, do you want to mention the town hall tomorrow?
I will absolutely do that. Thank you very much for reminding me.
No,
I'm glad you could make it.
of course.
So what are the meetings tomorrow going to be about?
I'm glad you asked. We were just about to talk about it. Tomorrow we do have a town hall meeting. And hopefully you've gotten that sent out to you. So everyone who's listening, the National Coalition for the Homeless, we want to talk about issues with people who have been homeless, with people who are homeless, and people who care about homeless. So once a month we do a town hall meeting. Everyone is welcome to join us. You can talk about your experience, talk about how we can find solutions. And we do that once a month. So that's tomorrow at 3 o'clock, the National Coalition for the Homeless Town Hall meeting. I want to thank everyone. I hope everyone has joined us. Yes.
Donald, the topic is on criminalization of homelessness. So we strongly encourage you to join us to discuss ways that you're experiencing that in your community. And maybe we could have staff put it into the chat in regards to the link to the town hall meeting.
Sure. Thanks, Sue. For just to make sure that everybody's back and with us, if you're back, turn on your camera for a minute before we turn it back off for the singers. So if you're back on the call, please turn on your camera for me. Those of you that are dressed appropriately to turn on your camera, I should say that too. So everybody who can, please turn on your camera.
Donnie, can you hear me?
I can't hear you.
Okay.
Okay. So great. It looks like we're getting a lot of people back. Let me just change the page here to see if someone from staff could please put the town hall meeting in the chat box, please. We have an incredibly talented board and staff at the National Coalition. A few of them are on. I see Kelvin Lassiter and Megan Hustings and Annie Liampura. I also see Dorita on the chat. I'm sorry, on the phone. So thank you all for coming. Thank you all of our board members, Rajni, Dr. Rajni Shankar Brown, Richard Troxel, Sue Watlow Phillips. I think that's all our board members, but we also have some of our additional members. Penny Nance is here from our Speakers Bureau, and a lot of other wonderful people. I can't, Bruce Wilton is an individual member. Rachel Holland is on, so quite a few people. Linda Soderstrom, just a great group of people on tonight. Thanks everybody who gave us their talents tonight. And I said we had a very talented staff, and I mean that both literally and figuratively. So literally, the next performer is actually also a staff member. She is a graduate of the Duke Ellington School of Arts and also Temple University. She is our new executive assistant at the National Coalition for the Homeless. And without any further ado, I am going to give you Tyler Richardson.
Thanks, boss. And thank you everyone for being here. It has been a lovely and eye-opening experience. Hey, Richard, how are you? It's been a lovely and eye-opening to hear just to hear everyone's voices and stories. And we just really appreciate everyone for coming out and being supportive of this mission, and also being brave enough to share with us, share with each of us. And before I do my musical selection, I would like to start with a poem I actually just came across last night. It was an assignment for my youth cultures class back in 2018. And I just really wanted to share it because it's still very relevant today. It is entitled, Who Are We? I am who you see. I'm the only me I know how to be. I'm a beneficiary of freedom that was never free. The pain and suffering it caused will bring you to your knees. I'm a fragment of America's broken society, where racism and hatred are the garden variety, and lens to which the world chooses to judge me. Does no one else see what I see? I see the unspoken truths others choose to ignore. This selective ignorance will never have our broken foundation restored. While we twiddle our thumbs saying we're bored, who is going out to feed the poor? Taking on the responsibilities we all abhor. All of those sins we can't account for because we're too busy convincing ourselves that less is more, and deciding that what matters in society is a chore, and neglecting the fact that we're rotten to our very core. Therefore, how can we truly say we know who we are? How can we not acknowledge what brought us this far? We belittle and disbar those that made true sacrifice. If you still don't understand, let me be precise. We choose what we see, ignore the hate and misery, while making feeble decrees that we're free to a degree. With this, of course, you can agree or disagree, but I guarantee we are more damaged than we even believe, unable to foresee catastrophe. We repeat the cycle of ignorance and duplicity, so I ask you, who are we, and how can we truly break free and redefine humanity? Once again, that was a poem I wrote back in 2018 for a youth cultures class. And speaking of 2018, that was actually the year that I graduated, so I'm a little rusty, but just bear with me. The song that I will be singing will be It's Spiritual from Harry T. Burley. I won't be singing with any accompaniment, it'll just be me. But I do hope you enjoy, and it is also just to remind us that we always need to refer back to our roots. 40 days, 40 nights when the rain kept a-falling. The wicked climbed a tree and for help kept a-calling. For they heard the waters wailing. Didn't it rain? Rain. Didn't it rain? Tell me no, didn't it rain? Some climbed a mountain, some climbed a hill, some started sailing and a rowing with the wheel. Some tried swimming and I guess they're swimming still, for they heard the waters roaring. Didn't it rain? Rain. Didn't it rain? Tell me no. Didn't it rain? Didn't it rain? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tyler. That was beautiful. Tyler is a graduate in fine arts, and thank you so much. We don't get enough fine arts in our lives these days. And again, I want to thank all of our wonderful performers.
Tyler.
As much as has happened in our world, it is really for me just refreshing just to take a deep breath and exhale and get to listen to some of the beauty in the world. So I'm going to bring back up Mr. David Mizell. He's going to do another song for us. And then we have our next performer, which is our last performer, Mr. Joel Davis. I may do a couple of songs myself, but believe me, you don't want to hear that. So I'll just let these two do it. Next up is Mr. David Mizell.
Tell me, what do you do when you've done all you can? And it seems like it's never enough. And what do you say when your best friend turns away and you're all alone? What do you get when you've given all that you have and it seems like you can't make it through? Well, you just stand. When there's nothing left to do, you just stand. Watch the Lord see you through. Yes, after you've done all you can. Stand. Tell me, how do you handle the guilt of your past? Tell me, how do you deal with the shame? And how can you smile when your heart has been broken and filled with pain? Tell me, what do you get when you've done all you can and it seems like you can't make it through? Well, you just stand. When there's nothing left to do, you just stand. I'm a witness that the Lord will see you through. Yes, after you've done all you can, you just stand and be sure. Listen to me good. Do not entangle in that bondage again. You just stand and endure. God has a purpose. Yes, God has a plan. Tell me when you've done all you can, and it seems like you can make. I gotta listen when I'm telling you what you do. You stand. You just stand. Don't you dare give up through the storm, through the rain, through the hurt, stand through the pain. Don't you bend and don't you bow. Don't give up. I promise you the Lord will work it out. When I'm saying, hold on, be strong. It's just a matter of time before the Lord comes and you won't go after you've done all you can. You know them nights when you're at home and you get down on your knees. Oh, and you prayed and cried, prayed and cried. Oh, I don't care what you're going through. Just stand. Stand on God's word. Hallelujah. Glory to God.
Thank you so much, David. Thank you. You are an amazing gift. Your talent is unmistakable, and I just really appreciate having you as a friend in my life. Please, everybody, give David Mizell a round of applause.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Love you,
And,
Donnie.
David is absolutely an amazing playwright as well. So if you ever are traveling through Cincinnati or somewhere in the Midwest, you can catch one of his plays. I tell you, Tyler Perry has some competition.
Thank you, Don.
Our next guest is an amazing artist as well. Going to read his bio real quick. He is a two-time gold record producer and songwriter. He's performed on 4 #1 Billboard hits. He's recorded a #1 hit called Joy by Teddy Pendergrass. He wrote songs for Anita Baker, Howard Hewitt, Denise Williams, Stephanie Mills, and he toured with Stephanie Mills for 5 years. He did also perform on the Grammy-winning Joy by Teddy Pendergrass, Casanova by Levert, Jumpstart My Heart by Natalie Cole, and he also performed on Love Overboard. So without further ado, I'm going to give you one of America's most gifted songwriters, Mr. Joel Davis. Joe, you're on mute.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, good brother. First of all, I really appreciate you, man, for asking me to come. I'm humbled. You've been a great friend for a long time. Thank God, you brother. And we're just so proud of you, man. So you just continue to do the work that God has put you here to do. That said, I've got to always thank the Lord and my Savior, Jesus Christ. Without him, I am nothing. And so I must give it all to him because he gets the glory. He gets every bit of the glory, everything, every note that I might play. It's him playing it through me, every note I sing, every song I write. So I'm humbled, and just with that, I have to continue to say thank you. To my lovely wife, I thank God for my wife, my blessing. She's just been the best of friends that I could ever have. Dave, my buddy. Donnie just said it perfectly, but I'll go ahead and say a step further. He's one of the best vocalists in the world. Dave is one of the guys that when you hear him sing, you know who it is. He's an original. He's not a duplicator. So I thank God for him and that talent and that gift. Just keep doing it, brother. I'm proud of you, really proud of you.
Thank you, brother.
Doing your good work, man.
Thank you, brother.
Yes, sir. You're so welcome, man. You're so welcome. You're so welcome. The song that I'm going to do this evening is a prayer. We know what's going on in this world. We know what's happening day in and day out, and without having to go into all the detail, we know that we are in a quagmire here, where the consciousness and the soul and heart of America and the world is being shaped and reshaped to something that is not true. Truth is what it's all about, what life is all about. And God is truth. So when you deviate from truth, then we get into make-believe, and make-believe is not sustainable. So the song that I'm going to do tonight is a song that I've been blessed to have written a few years ago. It's called Lord, Give Us Time. This is a prayer for, yes, everybody. It's for Washington, D.C., all the states of America and the world therein. But this prayer is something that I dedicate to you and to all who is listening. God is the glory. Lord, give us time. Lord, give us time to follow our reason. Lord, give us strength. Season after season, and give us the mind to leave the wrong earthly pleasures behind. Give us your spirit, so life won't be an illusion to see. Not as someone just absolutely running free. Lord, shine your love on the world through your reality. Lord, let us walk in your light. Lord, let us live, striving to do what's right. Let us take an unchanging stand. As God made us all, help us to understand. Give us the eyes to see.
are free as it comes to be. Shine your love entirely on the world and me. Time to know, time to show, time to feel, time to know what is real, what is real, what is real. Lord, give us time. Lord, give us all.
David, thank you so much. Everybody, please give Joel a round of applause. I keep saying the last singer, but Joel, amazing, amazing. What amazing original music. You guys, I hope you understand how much you've been blessed tonight with just some amazing talent, some of the best
Thank you.
talent in the entire country. We really appreciate everybody that was able to join us, everybody that stayed all the way through. We're going to give you back a little time tonight. That's kind of right after Joel's song. We're going to give you back a little time. But we also want to remind you why we're here tonight. We're here to help end homelessness in America. You've heard so many stories about how traumatic this experience is, how much it gives you so much pain, physical pain, mental pain, what it does to families. We need to stop this tonight. We need to stop this as soon as we can, and we can only do that with your help. This is God's work that we do. I'm not afraid to say it. Those three guys, the last two guys you heard, we grew up in church together. So we believe in the power of God, and we believe that God is going to guide us to ending homelessness in America. I hope you'll go to our website, www.nationalhomeless.org, or go right to Facebook. We're live. We'll stay live for another 6 minutes. For those of you that are slow to write checks, or you can't get your donation into Facebook on time, please make sure you do it. Please, another round of applause for our amazing performers tonight. We want to thank Dr. Rajni Shankar Brown,
Yay,
Richard
Raji.
Troxel, please take a bow. Joel Siegel, Howard Page, Caitlin Cobb, David Mizell twice, Julia Dinsmore, Bruce Wilton, Jeff Olivet, Tyler Richardson, and Joel Davis. And also thank your host. I wasn't as funny as I usually am, but give me credit for the little bit of funny I was tonight. Also,
Thank you, Donald. Thank you, Donald.
it's really sad that I've been on for about 2 hours and my collar was out. Nobody said anything. That really, I feel painful about that.
Donald, we were looking at your beautiful face.
Well, really, I want to thank everybody.
And your shiny head.
Well,
oh, you're in trouble now.
Uh-oh. Leave that one alone, Donnie.
Well, thank you all.
I had to throw one in there.
We liked you right up to then. No.
Well, Sue, thank you so much for your leadership as board president. And I would be remiss when I announced everybody I didn't announce our board president. Please give Sue Watler Phillips a round of applause before we go.
Hey, Sue.
There you go, Sue.
Hello, Sue.
Well, and we hope, thank you so much. Thank you so much. And we hope that you have a happy and a safe Thanksgiving. And may God bless you and your family and everyone in the United States of America as we work together to make sure everyone has a home. So thank you so much for all your talent and your willingness to share that with folks, and for all of you that joined us tonight.
And
Great
thank you.
project, great project. Thank you.
Thank you, Megan,
Great
for your
project.
technical assistance. I want to make sure we say that, and Caitlin Cobb as well. We're going to sign off now, but you still have a couple of minutes, 4 more minutes if you want to make a donation. We appreciate whatever you do, whether it's $1 or $50. Those of you with deeper pockets, the thousands are fine as well. Just want to thank everybody for making it out tonight. Have a wonderful night. As Sue said, have a wonderful Thanksgiving, and
Thank you, Donald.
Thanks, Brother Donald.
And also for everyone on here, help spread the word, right? So you got to learn about National Coalition for Homeless, the work that is being done, the amazing work. So let
Yes,
other
sir.
people know as well. Spread the word.
Yes, sir. How
and
you
let's
doing, Brother Saul?
keep working together. We got this.
And please join us tomorrow for the criminalization of homelessness town hall at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon.
Send out the Zoom, Annie.
I'll
Send
be
out
there.
the Zoom.
I'll be there.
You have, right now, you still have 3 more minutes. The link to the meeting is in our chat. So if you want to go to the chat. Once again, thank everybody who joined us tonight on Facebook. Thanks everybody who joined us on Zoom. And again, thank you so much for our wonderful talent tonight. I hope you'll join us again next year in a live concert in a place near you where we all can touch each other and hug each other and celebrate our togetherness in the world. You all have a fantastic evening, and God bless you all.
Amen to that, Donald. God bless you.
Stay well, everybody. Thank you. Namaste.
Also, I'll be sending out the link to the town hall tomorrow to all the members, just so you know. No worries.
Thank you.
Have a great night.
Good job, everybody.
Thank you.
Already looking forward to next year, y'all.
Dave, don't forget to send me